Okay, so I guess I kind of wanted to start by, telling my story. This will be the first thing that I put up on my YouTube channel. Hopefully, I'll be putting up quite a bit more in the future, but I kind of wanted to tell you just a little bit about myself and my life and where I'm coming from and partially why I'm doing this channel. I grew up in a Southern Baptist family with a young Earth creationist parents who thankfully raised me to think for myself. They constantly challenged anything that I said, even when it was things that they agreed with. They would challenge me to make sure that I was actually thinking about it, and it was really my idea and not just somebody else's idea that I was repeating. And I could not be more happy that that's something that they did for me, because that has actually helped me out more than anything else in my life. I found out very young that I am not straight, which did not jive very well with the status quo of the churches that we went to, and I figured out very, very quickly that's something that I should hide. I've always been a very logical person. Even when I was little, I played with dinosaurs, little dinosaur toys, and my various G.I. Joes or the little green army men. If the dinosaur was attacking the little green army men, there was no way they could win. Their bullets just simply weren't big enough. They'd never be able to pull it off. But the G.I. Joes, which were substantially larger, they stood a chance. And sometimes they actually managed to win. And it was simply because of the size. I understood even then that it made no logical sense that these little pellets that the Green Army men would be shooting would be anywhere close to enough to do anything to the giant Tyrannosaurus that was terrorizing the little woodblock village I'd made for him. We've moved around a lot, thanks to my dad's job. So I really don't have any place that I really consider a hometown. The closest thing I have is the town where I graduated high school at. I actually managed to go through all 4 years of high school in the same area, which was great. Just after that, I moved to a large city, and it was around this time that I really, really was questioning religion, and I couldn't get my faith to work with the religion. Or work with, sorry, not with the religion, what's wrong with me today? To work with the sexuality that I was, that I am. It just didn't, the two didn't go together at all. At least, not the version of the religion that I grew up in, which was very salvationist, Southern Baptist, strict, Bible-thumping, the earth is only 10,000 years old, yeah, that kind of place. Yeah, that's where I grew up. Think about that. Luckily, when we moved to a much larger city, I met a group of, I have no other way to call them, but they were hippies, and former punk band members, very Wicca-y, wonderful, wonderful people. Unfortunately, I lost one of them just recently. I still keep in touch with them, but like I say, unfortunately, I did lose one of them very recently to a drug overdose. But they helped me see that I didn't need that particular religion, but I still wasn't ready to give up religion altogether. I still needed that feeling, that structure, that framework around which the universe had to be made. And I got into Wicca, specifically Druidism, and one of the tenets there was to learn something new every day. And the longer that I lived, the more that I have done that, and I still do that, even though I'm no longer in that belief system whatsoever. There are some weird things that I still believe strictly because of my own personal experiences. Unlike R and Raw, I'm not quite ready to give those up yet. Maybe in the future, I don't know. Everything changes. But I never let those beliefs affect how I treat science, what I look at, how I treat any kind of new information that comes in. That stuff is very, very much compartmentalized, and it's almost like they're one-offs that don't really apply to really anything else. Luckily, like I said, after meeting them, things started to change. Unfortunately, I also started getting very heavily into drugs. After quite some time, I realized that I was either going to die there or I had to get away. Luckily, my parents had moved to another small town where I knew nobody, and I moved back in with my parents for a while, and I managed to get clean, and I've been clean for 14 years. Not even pot anymore, and none of that stuff. It's just, I barely even drink anymore. I mean, I might have a drink once or twice a year. It's just, it doesn't hold the appeal for me anymore. As things moved on, I went back to college, got myself a degree. It's completely useless, but nonetheless, it's a degree. It cost me way more than it was worth, and it's not worth anything. Matter of fact, I work in a minimum wage job because of it. After moving and getting clean, going to college, I met my wife and her child, which has become my child. I've been his daddy since he was 1 year old. He's now in his teens, and if you ask him who his father is, it's me. There is nobody else. We don't even associate with the biological dad anymore, mainly because he doesn't make any kind of effort to associate with us. So what's the point? As things moved on, I still couldn't get everything to fit. It didn't seem quite right, even with the minor belief in some of the more woo stuff, I guess some of the other YouTubers would call it. I started watching some YouTube channels one day, and I ran across a video from Mr. Repsion, and I watched quite a few of his, and from him I found Armored Skeptic, I found Logic. Is it the original? I honestly, I know I'm messing up her name. I found R&R, I found so many others just because that one time I just happened to run across a Mr. Repsion video. And I am so thrilled to have found them. The amount of eye-opening that it brought, because I'd always known that evolution was right, that the Earth wasn't 10,000 years old, even though that's what I was being taught. That, like I said, I was a very logical kid, and that didn't jive, that didn't fit, and none of it made sense with the data that I was seeing, not the stuff that was in the school books. And when it didn't match with what I was told in church, what did I do? Being the nerd that I am, I went and looked it up. I read more books. I read from more sources. I found out that, carbon dating does actually work, and the excuses and the BS that the churches were saying about it was just that. It was nothing but BS. I apologize. I'm doing this very much off the cuff, just as I think about it. But I'm just hoping, the biggest reason that I'm making the channel is, like I say, having run across one video by accident. If nothing else, maybe, just maybe, somebody else who's in a similar place that I was will run across my video and will be able to find others who are decidedly better speakers than I am, and much more eloquent. For any future videos, please note that I am not a scientist. My father was. He was a chemist. And that's, I think, part of why I grew up understanding logic and reason, because that's the way he approached everything, except his faith. For some reason, somehow he managed to compartmentalize that entirely as well. But I can't really say a whole lot, because I do compartmentalize some things that are quite strange. And no, I will never talk about them on this channel. This is the most that you will hear about them. The things that I plan on talking about on this channel are going to be science, evolution. Thanks to R&R, I've gotten very, very interested in evolution. I've learned so much in the past few months. And that's the kind of thing that I do. I'm just a giant nerd. I get stuck on one topic that interests me, and I just start reading. And I tear through books, websites, and charts, and data, and just videos, and everything. To me, it's just absolutely fascinating. Yes, like I said, I'm a nerd. I admit it. I don't really care. My wife loves it too, so she thinks it's cute, and that makes me happy. I guess that's really pretty much all I really have to say is, after I got clean, found all these videos, and it just, especially Bionic Dance, and what is his name? Oh, that's going to drive me nuts. I will put a link to his channel in particular in the comments. This gentleman, went through some very similar experiences to myself, and has a fantastic series of videos describing just the journey of his life and the things that he went through, and it's absolutely fascinating. He actually did a video with Armored Skeptic, did kind of a two-part thing. One video's on his channel, one video's on the Armored Skeptic's channel. It's absolutely fantastic. But like I said, if the only thing my entire channel does is that one person stumbles across it somehow and is in a similar situation and manages to break free of the guilt, the shame, the self-loathing, because this stuff, it hurts you more than people realize. I actually did attempt suicide multiple times in my life, especially when I was younger, my teenage years, when I was trying to understand why I felt the way that I felt, and it wasn't what God wanted, and I couldn't stop. I prayed every day. I begged and begged to get those things taken away, and it never happened. And I don't understand how anybody can tell somebody, oh, you just need to pray and it'll fix it all. No, it doesn't. I was extremely devout. I was in the youth choir, I was in the adult choir, I was in the Sunday school things, I did the teen Bible studies, I did so much. I even audited several classes at a seminary that was near me, because I actually wanted to be a preacher at one point. I have actually read the Bible from cover to cover more than once. I know it fairly well. And unfortunately, it really did, the faith really did blind me to so much that is just seriously messed up in that book. And I actually had the opportunity, thanks to another YouTube channel called The Bible Reloaded, which if you have not seen, it is fantastic. And they really do, they just read the Bible, but they poke fun at the stuff that is just absolutely absurd as they're doing it. It helped so much of the guilt, so much of the shame, so much of the fear that I had, that even after I had realized that the Christian God couldn't possibly be, I still would wake up just terrified that I was going to hell. That's the level of conditioning that I was in. I was in my late 20s and this was still happening. How can any group call themselves loving when that's the kind of treatment that they put people through? That's not loving. That's not loving. You don't induce terror and fear, self-loathing, and then get to say that you're loving. That's a load of crap. But I digress. Hopefully somebody actually sees this and enjoys it. And I've gone over 15 minutes, so I don't think I'm going to get all this on there. But hey, I got to edit it, so I'll probably take out some of the silence parts to get it down to time. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day.